Hello, if you're new here, I'm Ivy. If you're not, then you probably already know what time it is. I make a lot of art and book related videos, and I'm back with another one of my Percy Jackson videos where I'm directly comparing the book to the TV show. So we're on part 3 of 4, which means we're covering episodes 5 and 6. Yeah, we're covering episodes 5 and 6. So I will tell you which chapters those are. Let's see, let's go into my handy dandy journal that I use for these videos. 5 and 6 are chapters 12 through 15. So, how fun. I'm very excited for this. I'm excited to finish this because, I wanted to finish this ages ago, but my mental health, got a little bit in the way. But it's okay. I'm here, I'm back, and, I'm ready to compare. I'm ready to take notes, and I'm ready to talk about Percy Jackson with y'all. So yeah, let's get into this video. Okay, so I finished all the chapters that correlate for episode 5. Sorry I didn't film a lot of talking bits. I'm trying to make these videos as short as possible with filling you guys in with as much information as possible. So I read through the chapters. I've taken my notes. I've written down everything that happens in this that I know doesn't happen in the books. I mean, that doesn't happen in the show, or does happen in the show, or things that happen like slightly differently. So now I'm gonna watch episode 5, and we're gonna go through it together and talk about the changes from the books, the things they kept in, and the inclusions that they made in the show, and then also again my feelings on the scenes that they cut, and I'll also talk a little bit about like why I think some scenes were like it was okay to cut some scenes for like budget and CGI reasons, so it made sense for them to cut that scene and then rewrite a new scene that kind of made sense. But yeah, we're gonna go into episode 5. I'm really excited. Actually, the book and the episode are very different. Not like drastically different, but there's a lot of changes that were made from the book to the show for this episode. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that. But I think I'm gonna make a tea or something first because my throat is really dry. Okay, I'm gonna start episode 5 now. And I actually took a lot of notes. Where we last left off was the ship exploded and Percy assumes that Tyson is dead. And that's like the end of episode 4, the ship exploding. And he'd be like, "Oh, yep, no, Tyson's dead. He's in the boiler room." So episode 5 in the show opens up with just Percy waking up in the spa with Cersei, like in Cersei's spa. It'd be like, "What the freak? Like, I don't know where I am. Where's everybody?" And then he meets up with Annabeth, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, Annabeth, what's up? Where's everyone else?" And Annabeth is like, "We're the only survivors." And Percy's like really depressed about Tyson. But it's a little bit different than that in the book, actually. Percy like wakes up in the ocean after the explosion, and him and Annabeth find like a makeshift like rowboat, and they have like half the stuff in his bag, and they're just like rolling along in this rowboat after the explosion, soaking wet, and it's like, oh my god, we just survived that, and are we the only ones alive? Damn. And they're like debating if Tyson died or not, and it's like he probably died. So they're just sailing along in the Sea of Monsters. And while they're sailing along, the Percy finally asks Annabeth, like, "Hey, tell me about the Great Prophecy. Like, I want to know what is up." So in the show, this actually happened in the previous episode, I believe, in one of the previous, in either episode 3 or 4. But it happens a little later. So right before they go to Cersei Island, and everything has just failed them. And Percy's like, "You know what? Screw it. Tell me this prophecy. Tell me what's going on with my life." And so they do that. And then actually they go to sleep. It's the next night they pull up to Cersei's Island, and they see like, and they see that like, there's a port and there's a bunch of ships there, and a bunch of like different kinds of ships, like yachts, cruise ships, pirate ships, navy ships, all sorts of things. And so they go in, and they're greeted by. They're not initially greeted by hello. They're just greeted by some random girl who, instead of wearing like those Greek chiton dresses, she's just like a flight attendant. And they're like, hey, and they take her right to Cersei. There's no like exploration of everything. It's just like one and done. Everything happens very quickly. Well, in the show, um, it's a little more drawn out, you know. So yeah, they wake up. They don't know where they are. And Hillock actually comes in and is like, "Hey, welcome. Your friends are dead. Tour." Yeah, but we actually do get to briefly meet Hillock in the book as well. So for everyone saying it doesn't make sense, it does. She was in a book. They mentioned her one time though, and yeah, Percy gets real depressed about Tyson. And actually, Annabeth at one point apologizes and is like, "I'm sorry for being like, oh, sorry." It changes actually in the book. Yeah, it changes in the show to the book a little bit. Percy's really sad about Tyson, probably being dead, and Annabeth is actually like in the show. It's okay. He's probably alive. He survived those explosions before. You know. And in the book, there's a little extension where she apologizes. She's like, I wish I told Tyson, like, I'm sorry. I wish I was nicer. Like, I'm sorry that he is dead. Like, I wish we could have became friends. It's like twin. Oh, and then in the show, we can also. It's very different. In the show compared to the books. Oh no, I broke my thing. It is just simply a spa in the books. Hela takes them right to Cersei. They go straight from the island to Cersei's office, and never once do they interact. Do they go anywhere else on this island? And it's specifically only women. In the show, we actually see there's lots of men, just chilling around in the background, and there's also a hero that comes along and goes to the Sirens Island. Um, you know, Yada yada. Does not happen at all in the books. They're just ushered off to Cersei, and the doors close behind them. So all this other like extra additional information that happens in the episode is completely new and added to the book too. I assume just to like fill the runtime and to also like add complexity and depth. Oh, okay. So they added essentially the Cersei scene to give us more complexity and depth to the Fatal Flaw conversation and all of that, because the Fatal Flaw conversation didn't happen until like the very end of the chapters. And it's just essentially it's after the Sirens. And Annabeth admits that she, let herself fall into the Siren spell because of her fatal flaw, and that's also that's why she sees what she sees in her vision at the time, is because her fatal flaw is hubris. And Percy actually doesn't figure out his fatal flaw in that moment. It doesn't come till later on in actually I think a separate book, that Percy realizes his fatal flaw is loyalty. Of course the viewer like can kind of put two and two together at this point, but still. So she adds a lot more complexity and depth to the fatal flaw conversation, and having Percy realize early on that he is not the kind of person is the kind of person that would rather sacrifice himself for others. He's just the most loyal person. So this was just added in to add more depth and complexity to that, because again, Percy's just like, I wonder what my fatal flaw would be, after literally risking himself for Annabeth multiple occasions. Okay, twin. Okay, twin. Yeah. And when we first meet Cersei, in the book actually, they walk into her little office, and she's just like singing at a loom, making a little rug or something, whatever you make at a loom. And they're like, oh my gosh, twins! Hey, how are you? Let's give y'all a full makeover. None of this other extra gibberish was added in, but it is very much not a bad thing, because we are getting a much deeper kind of look on Cersei and her character, aside from just like she hates men and she wants to punish them all. Um, yeah. I feel like the show, well, in the books, it's kind of easy to just read and like put two and two together. The show is very much taking its time to sit down and explain the details of every single thing to us. I think I talked about this in my other parts. But yeah, like with Saul, Cersei is telling them like, so the Sirens will exploit your fatal flaw, like you being an Athena kid makes you have different traits than Percy, yada yada yada. So it's added to just kind of like explain it to us. 'Cause in the books, yeah, you can like read the actual words and put two and two together, but also again, it is for younger children, so sometimes you don't always put two and two together, and then the finale, the final book comes out and the final scene comes out, and you're like, oh wait, why did that happen? Why is he like that? Why is she like that? But so it's like they're taking the time to actually sit down and word for word explain things to us, which some people might not like. I don't 100% like it, because again, I put two and two together in my head, but some people genuinely don't. So it's like some people need to actually be told straight to their face, like his fatal flaw is loyalty, hers is hubris. It will fatally destroy them if they don't, learn to control themselves. Yeah. Also, in the book, we do not get Clarice's perspective at all. So we have no idea how Clarice makes it out alive and onto the island, like at all. We just come across her once we're on the island. So it's like, you know, how did she get there? What happened? So the show is really giving us a good like deeper look in the other perspectives. Like, yeah, it's Percy Jackson, but other things happen and other things are correlating at the same time that Percy's doing something that play a role in the final plot. So you kind of have to show us all, and that's the good thing about a TV show is you can show the perspectives of not only what someone's experiencing in one moment, but what another person is experiencing at that same time. A lot of people wondered what was Clarice doing when she was gone. Yada yada yada. Do we want more? She should have more depth. Yada yada yada. And we were brought that with the season and with the show. She is a much deeper and much more compelling character in the show than she was in the books. Yeah, and I just love Diogo Jump. I am in awe of the sets from both last season and this season. Like, the visuals are absolutely stunning. They picked some absolutely beautiful freaking locations for these seasons, and I'm so excited for next season to see like how they do it. Because next season they go to New Mexico, they go to San Francisco. Like, there's gonna be a lot of beautiful moments. I'm very excited. And I also love the exploration of Clarice's relationship with other camp members. Like, we have no idea, like, you know, if Grover and Clarice had a friendship, if they like communicated, how they communicated, yada yada. Seeing this is a lot more, it brings a lot more perspective into it all. We're also getting a lot. We're also diving a lot deeper into Grover's character, which I love, because I've always been a big fan of Grover. I was so mad when he wasn't like a main character in the Heroes of Olympus. I was like, what the hell, y'all? That is son, that is twin. He's so cute and I love him, and I just love the way Arya Samhadri is like taking the role. Another new included scene is the scene where Percy and Annabeth actually get to see themselves in their like made up Cersei's Island outfits. What happens actually is in the books, actually after they go and they meet up with Cersei, Cersei's like, "Wow, love y'all. I'm gonna give y'all some makeovers. Hilla take Annabeth. Go get her beautified. Percy needs a personal touch. Gotta make him. Gotta design him myself, you know." And Annabeth just like leaves him, and so she takes Percy to this mirror. And she's like, "Look in this mirror. It'll show you like the person you always want to be." And Percy, being a 13-year-old teenage boy, um he has some insecurities. And he doesn't like a lot of things about himself. And he's awkward, and he's a teenage boy. So he looks in the mirror, and so he does see a more like ideal version of himself. Taller, less pimply. Not as sweaty. Um, and Cersei's like, I can, I can give you what you want. I can make you look like this. Like, I can give you the dream life. And Percy's like, what's the catch? Like, stop with this. And she's like, there's no catch. Like, just drink this magical potion. And Percy, being the smart man he is like, okay, I'll drink this fizzy drink. And he's like, blue raspberry. Why is Cersei getting taller? No, I'm getting smaller. I am a guinea pig. She turns me into a guinea pig. Because her thing was she used to turn men into real pigs, but they were too smelly, because men are pigs. Irony. But yes, they don't actually. And then shortly after, Annabeth walks in and she's like, "Where's Percy? Where's Percy?" And Percy gets to see her in her beautiful garb, like all made up, and he's like, "If I could talk, I'd be jaw dropped. Like I would be speechless. Like, oh my god, she's gorgeous. Like drop dead." And she truly is. Like Leah Savage Jeffers is so beautiful. Um, so in the show, like them like seeing each other like all garbed up, that's a completely new scene. And it's so funny, and it makes for the funniest part where it's like no one where they look at each other and they're like, well, no one needs to know about this, and just Leah looks so beautiful. Let me flip the camera. Like hello, beautiful. Like she's just so stunning. So they enter Cersei's office. There's a harp, and she is actually weaving at a loom. So good to know. And they're looking all over the animal, and they're looking all over the office, and it's just covered in animals. And she goes, "They're here for emotional support, girl. You turn them into animals, twin." It's okay. I love Cersei as a person. I don't know if I love her in the Percy Jackson series, but and Annabeth puts together that she's Cersei way faster in the show than she does in the book. She does magic outright in front of the both of them, and Annabeth literally goes, "Oh my god, you're Cersei." Annabeth doesn't realize she's Cersei until a little bit after, once Percy is turned into the guinea pig. And Cersei actually tries to like gaslight and groom Annabeth. She's like, "You're so smart. All that talent is being wasted. Like, I could be your teacher. I could teach you to do incredible things, magic, sorcery." She's like, "Wait, you're Cersei." And she's like, "Hell yeah, my mom is Hecate, mother of magic. Like, I can teach you so many things. We can be great together." And this like the freak. Where's my boyfriend? You know how it is. My favorite thing about the show is she's like the pig thing. That was the ultimate. Now I turn them into guinea pigs, y'all, to win. Cersei. Cersei. My favorite part about this episode is the mirror scene where she makes them look into this mirror and it shows them their fatal flaw. It's mostly Percy, and it's like he has to see himself be like go through all of his like past trauma and his past experiences of being extremely loyal. And it's like it's just so beautiful and heartbreaking. And Walker Scobell's acting in this scene is so beautiful. Like I freaking kid you not, Rick shook that book and Leah Walker and Aryan literally fell out of the pages. They fell out of the pages. Like they capture their characters so beautifully. It's so insane. Like just like watching the emotion go through Walker's face. It's like, oh my god, that's literally Percy. That's Percy right there. Same with Annabeth, especially every time she like does the eyebrow raise and the doe eyes, and like I'm like, that's Annabeth right there. She's like, so cute. Just want to swaddle her. That's so funny because he's only 2 years younger than me. Anyways, we also get to see like how Percy's powers are also like incredibly emotion based. Like literally just seeing that and like having discussion with Percy about how his just little flaws like disgust is dangerous. He just explodes the glass. Like he's like, I don't want to deal with this. Like just him hyperventilating in front of Percy like that. Beautiful. You might even sacrifice the world. This episode is a 10 out of 10, and the conversation between Percy and Annabeth that happens immediately after the acting between the two of them. Annabeth, I'd burn it all down. Saving girlfriend, saving you. When they said the season was going to be more focusing on the friendship between Percy and Annabeth. Meanwhile, this is Urnitron 3000. This is Mr. Piner 1,000,000. Like he is the king of pining. Like I can't even. Bro just literally threatened to burn it all down for her. Okay, twin. If only someone would do that for me. Oh my god, the funniest thing, Percy's like after his like emotional explosion, he's going and he's standing out and he's looking. And this old ass lady comes up to him and offers him pomegranate juice. She's like, pomegranate juice? He's like, no, thank you. I think I should be around liquid right now. First of all, Percy, that was funny as fuck. Second of all, y'all are all drinking pomegranate juice and you don't leave the island. Okay. And then he has this discussion with this old woman about how like only like 3 or 4 people have ever left the island and gotten past the sirens. And Percy kind of puts 2 and 2 together in his head that Cersei has saved this leftover beeswax from the god of beekeeping. And she's been like giving it to people, like she gave it to Odysseus' crew. And then she's just been giving it to like one hero every few centuries, just when hope is about to die, to keep it all together, which is kind of true. And so he tries to steal the beeswax from Cersei by like intimidating her, and that's kind of what sets her off. And she's just like, you know what? You're gonna become a guinea pig. Percy actually uses his brain for once. TM. Shortly after Percy's turned into a guinea pig, Annabeth actually comes in the room and she's like, again, as I said, she figures out Cersei, and she's like really sad. And then she kind of figures out, oh crap, you turned him into a guinea pig. She kind of puts 2 and 2 together. And Cersei's like, don't be sad. He's gonna go to a nice kindergarten classroom. You're gonna get lots of love. Like everything will be fine. And Annabeth, being smart, is like, can I just like have a minute to say goodbye to my friend? And Cersei's like, fine, just a minute. And so she runs to Percy's bag, and she gets the bottle of multivitamins. She takes one herself, and then she hides the bag. And Cersei comes in, and she's like, what are you doing? And then like blasts her with magic. And the magic actually deflects off of Annabeth because the pill she took is like makes her immune to magic for like I don't know, like a minute, 10 minutes, whatever. So Annabeth gets her dagger, grabs Cersei, puts her dagger to her throat, and is like, unlock the cage. And Cersei's like, no. And it's like, you know what, ho? Drags her over the cage, throws the vitamins in the cage. All the guinea pigs eat the vitamins. They turn into humans. Percy's a human. The guinea pigs are actually pirates, and they destroy the entire spa. Every single one of these actors like deserves their flowers. They need to let each one know what for this. Like they are so incredibly good at portraying their characters. I'm portraying the emotions that they go through and the feelings. So beautiful. So beautiful. I love the inclusion that Polyphemus is actually like incredibly smart and that he's not dumb. Like because it's like kind of like a common like theory knowledge that like not knowledge or more like a stereotype that Cyclopses are dumb. But we actually meet Tyson and he is incredibly smart. Like the only reason he kind of is the way he is because he's 8 years old. He's a child. But he's incredibly smart. Like he builds bombs. He builds incredibly intuitive like machines and things like that. Like he is smart. The Cyclopses are smart. They work with Hephaestus in the fortress to build things. Like they are smart. So it doesn't make sense that Polyphemus is just like this dumb, blind, like freaking loser. He may be blind, but yes, again, he has incredible hearing, just like all Cyclopses do. But he's blind, so that means this incredible hearing. is so much more, like, it's tenfold compared to any Cyclops. And he also has incredible smelling. He also has incredible sense of smell. And again, he's blind, so every other sense he has is like tripled. So like it makes sense for him to be smart and for him to be like, yes, I immediately know that this is a Cyclops. This is a satyr. This is a half blood. But do I just want to have one satyr for dinner, or do I want a group of half bloods and a satyr, whole meal? You know. So him like being smart is a really great inclusion. I actually adore it. And it makes much more sense, especially if you have read the Odyssey. It's not like, well, like he is not the smartest in the Odyssey, but again, it's you put two and two together that Cyclops is not all Cyclopses are dumb because they actually serve a great purpose. I don't know. I don't know if this makes sense, y'all. Okay, so in the show, instead of like being immediately like being like Cersei, you're evil, my twin is in the cage. She actually like is coming up to Cersei's like, so we're leaving now. Where's Percy? I want to go. I have a plan. I have a ship. I have a plan. We're gonna go. Where is he? And Cersei's like, no, you shouldn't do that. She's like, no, like here are my blueprints. I have a plan. Where's Percy? And she's like, I guess you can go. I don't know where Percy is. And just looking around the room, and Percy uses his brain again. And makes a mini whirlpool in the guinea pig water bottle. And so Annabeth's kind of like, wait, Percy, you a guinea pig? How are you a guinea pig? And then of course she also sees, Riptide in Cersei's little pen holder. And then she kind of like, she doesn't want to like let Cersei know that she's onto her, so she's kind of like slowly walks over to the cage and like slips the pills in there, and then they all are like, she is so smart. I love her so much. Also in the show, they like take the beeswax, like the specific special beeswax from Cersei, and they're like, we're gonna use it. Get on the ship. They open it. There's like literally nothing in there. And Cersei like magics it back. Um, in the book they use wax. They take candle wax. Percy puts candle wax in his ears, to block the sound out. And the plan is Annabeth is crazy as hell. So she goes to Percy and he's like, I want to hear the sirens. I want to listen to the sirens because I think I will actually be able to learn something from the sirens. Are we getting here? Her fatal body burst and she wants to like, no, okay. Okay. Anyways, and Percy's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, Annabeth. And Annabeth's like, no, this is the plan. This is the plan to win. And Percy's like, okay. So he has to tie her to the mast. He has to steer the ship. And as they're escaping, actually, he learns that his like sea powers also extend to ships, so he can also like control everything on the ship, like the bow, the rudder, the ropes, everything. So he ties Annabeth up. And he's like steering the ship with his magical Poseidon powers. And he's got wax in his ears, so he can't hear anything. But all he can see is like Annabeth like screaming and writhing, and he like physically cannot watch her do this. Like it hurts him, so he looks away for a few moments. And when he looks back, Annabeth has wriggled her freed her dagger, and caught herself free, and has jumped into the water and is swimming directly to the sirens. So that's kind of how that starts in the books. And the show is very different. Percy gets tied to the mast. And Annabeth, being Annabeth, thinks that she can just handle it and listen to the sirens and go for it. And just like in the books, she falls completely under their spell. And her dream is very much prideful. But it's not the same. She has a different dream. Like the dream the sirens are showing her is very much different in the show versus the book. In the book, she actually she's her ideal future. She's Manhattan. She's rebuilt herself from marble and stone. Her mom, Athena, is actually there with her dad, and they are together. And Luke is also there, and they're just having a big picnic, and everything is like happy and chill, and like, she's fixed everything. That's the dream that she's had. The dream is actually kind of different in the show. Percy and Luke are arguing, and Grover is like in the middle mediating, consolidating them, telling them to like get along and get together, because that's Annabeth's ideal future in the show, like Percy and Luke getting along, her friends getting along, everything being like chill and fine. Oh, also, the siren scene doesn't happen directly after they leave Cersei's Island. They leave Cersei's Island, and actually night comes, and they see like all these like crazy monsters swimming around in the Sea of Monsters, and they're like, oh, don't eat me, and then Percy actually says like, Annabeth, it's getting late, like we're sailing, like let's go to sleep, let's go to bed, like it's okay, we're gonna be fine, Poseidon Daddy will protect me. And so that's when he has his iconic dream about Thalia, which happens, I believe, later in this episode. But he has this iconic dream about Thalia, and I like the way that they adapted the dream in the show, but I wish they also included the way that the dream happens in the book. So he goes to sleep, and he's having this dream that's very similar to his dreams that he's had about Cronus before. He can hear Cronus' voice, and he wakes up, he's in his room, and there's a coffin like right in the center, and he walks to the coffin, and Cronus is telling him to open it. He's like, should I open it? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, he hears from behind him, hey, seaweed brain, and he immediately goes, oh, Annabeth, looks around, it's Thalia. And she's like, come on, are we gonna like jump him or not? And Percy's like, I don't know if I want to jump him. What's going on, twin? I want to jump him. And so Bella calls up her shield, she calls up Aegis, and she goes up to the coffin, and she's about to open it and attack, and then she kind of opens it, and some gold light spews out of her. She starts like screaming. She's like, "What the fuck is that?" And then Percy looks from his dream, and it's like, "Yo, you were having a nightmare, twin." Also, we coming up on the sirens. Yeah, so it doesn't happen like Bang for Bang. Literally having to watch Percy like literally scream and struggle and be like, "Annabeth, no, please let me help you." It's twin. It's so beautiful, and I can't. I love him so much. First best for life, y'all. In the book, Percy gets to her like right as she is about to get to the shore. He's swimming after her and he grabs her leg, and that's when he kind of sees her vision, her siren vision, of like her dream future with Luke and her parents. And he kind of like snaps out of it, and he grabs onto her and he drags her back. He pulls her in, and he grabs onto her and he just like takes her right to the bottom of the ocean. Um, and then he builds his air bubble around her, and she is just like screaming and crying from like everything she's seeing and from the experience. And once they're finally deep enough underwater and she can breathe, she stops hearing them and she just like breaks down and she just starts like sobbing into Percy's arms, and it's so sad and it's so beautiful. Um, I do like the change in the book though, where she like actually gets onto the Siren Islands and she kind of like freaks the siren. She's like, "I know you are, and I'm here to prove myself." And then of course, the only thing that would truly fool her and make her like kind of like lure her in is she sees her mother, and her mother is proud of her, and her mother is praising her and offering her a hand. Diabolical, sick, and evil. Rick, when I find you, Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky.
I want to do it. Stop hiding. You hiding forever. Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky,
It is over. Her mother died. I understand why they like cut the underwater bubble scene. Because I don't think they would have at this point in their CGI capabilities. I don't think they would have been able to like physically recreate that kind of scene. I'm actually scared for the underwater kiss scene. I don't know how that's gonna happen. I know he like forms a bubble of air around their head, but it could totally work without an air bubble at all. Just like an underwater kiss. There's been plenty of underwater kisses before in media. Oh my god, my cat's being seated. Yeah, I don't think that they have the visual effects capacity and capability right now to be able to have been able to like do the underwater like hug scene where she's like screaming and crying in his arms. She's still gonna scream and cry in his arms on the ship. That's all I'm saying. But I do like that they have a little more like thought out conversation about your fatal flaws and all of that. Okay, so after they defeat the sirens, they pull up and they are at the island, which essentially kind of happens. They have the talk about their fatal flaw, and again they pull up on the island. They're like, "Yay, we're here!" Also, I forgot to mention right before they went to fight the sirens the night before, when Percy had the nightmare. Right before he had the nightmare, Annabeth finally opened up and told Percy about how Fire truly died and why she truly hates Cyclopses and what happened. Which actually happened, I believe, in episode 4. But she explains everything that happens, and it slightly varies from the book and the show. In the show, they meet up. Annabeth actually runs away to get something, which makes it so much more like so 10 times deeper and sadder. And they go to save Annabeth, and that you know slows them down, and then the Furies get to them. In the book, what actually happens is they run into a Cyclops den because Grover just kept taking too many accidental wrong turns. Um, Percy, not Percy, Luke and Grover and Thalia all end up getting kidnapped. Annabeth was all alone. She was crying. She was sad. And then she finally found them. But right when she was about to free them, the Cyclopses mimicked her father's voices, and she almost like went with them. And then she was like, "Wait a second, my dad doesn't love me." And so she stabs the Cyclops and frees Thalia, and Thalia, kicks ass. And then they go to the camp, and then they're kidnapped by the Furies, and then and that's how that happens. So slight difference from the book. It actually the show makes it 10 times sadder. Like they went to save her, and that ended up, taking too much time, and they ended up sacrificing herself for that. Like it's truly heartbreaking. I don't know what to say. Like it's beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah, those are the differences in episode 5. Um, it's the next day. It's midnight, so I'm gonna go to bed. And when I wake up, we'll do episode 6. So I read the next few chapters. It was about 3 chapters. And I'm ready to compare some things and to make my commentary again. Who else is ready for me to just like talk and complain? What I like about this episode is that it opens with showing us what happens to Tyson, since he tells us in the book, but we actually get to like physically see like Tyson surviving because Cyclops, son of Poseidon, and his spooky rainbow found him. Again, wish we had more rainbow in the series, but I talked about this in my last part. Like CGI wise and budget wise, I understand why they didn't include as much of the hippocampi as they did. Okay, in this episode, Percy has a dream about Thalia, which is kind of similar to the dream I was talking about that happened in the previous few chapters. He has a dream where all of the kids are kind of just like sleeping on the floor and they're in the endless sleep. And then like Kronos walks in the room holding his little lamp thing, but it's actually like Thalia, and like that really puts the first seed of doubt in Percy that maybe Thalia is the child of prophecy, and if she is, it might not be a good thing. Um, we actually kind of see a little bit of that in the Titan's Curse of should Thalia have been the prophecy kid, and what would she have truly done if she had that power, to make that choice. But yeah, it's different from Thalia going to like fight Kronos and then being mesmerized by what was happening to Percy actually seeing her as Kronos. I like this. I like both aspects. I wish we kind of could have had both dreams personally, but you pick and you choose, I guess. But also, like the introduction of her as Kronos really does help us realize why Percy is so doubtful of and like skeptical of Thalia for many reasons, but that is one of them. And again, he has this dream while they're on their way to see to Polyphemus' island, but again, in the book, this happens before they even go see the sirens, y'all. Twins. Okay, so shortly after the dream sequence, we cut to Polyphemus talking to Grover and Clarice about the beauty of living on the island and like how he's gonna, trap Percy in and yada yada yada. This again doesn't really happen in the books, but he eventually in the books Polyphemus does realize Grover is a satyr, and then captures Clarice, dangles her over the pot, and is like, you know what? I'm gonna eat this satyr and I'm gonna marry you instead, Clarice. And Clarice is like, the frick? I'm a masked lesbian. Stay away. Sorry. But I do kind of like the depth that's being added to Polyphemus' character because he is like an actual like figure in Greek mythology who has things to back him up that he's a lonely person and that like he deeply cares for his sheep and like all this stuff. So it's like I like the addition of this version of Polyphemus versus like the kind of like just all out there rageful monster that we kind of get in the book, where he's literally just like a monster. He is still like angry at a monster. There's certain take things that are his, but it does give him a lot more depth and personality. And we love that here in this house. That's one of my favorite parts about this entire show is how much depth and personality they're willing to add to the characters and how much how much the actors themselves can truly bring that forward. Like, it's just so beautiful, y'all. The cats are just like staring out the window because it's springtime now and the window's open and everyone's outside and they're just like, people watching. And yeah, we kind of learned that he's super lonely and likes to talk to himself in the voices of the satyrs and demigods he killed. What I also like is we also get the inclusion, and we also find out that oh my god, my cat just opened my door. We also find out that Pan actually gave the fleece to Polyphemus. He didn't steal it. He didn't, get it off of a demigod. Pan himself actually gave it to Polyphemus, which is a change from the books and actual Greek mythology to the story. But I kind of like it a lot more because it's going to deepen Grover's connection and his feelings towards Pan for the next 2 seasons. Which, if you've read Battle of the Labyrinth, you'll know what happens between Grover and Pan later on in later seasons. So it really is adding more depth to and giving us more growth to explore that storyline with Grover more. And I'm loving how much more of Grover's character and storyline we're getting because he's one of the characters in the books that I really love. But he isn't a character that is explored as much as Percy and Annabeth, and like characters like the Seven and stuff, and the Big Three. So, all right, now we're on to the plan of how they're gonna like get the fleece and get into the cave itself. So there is no fake fleece that Polyphemus sets up because again he's not like as smart in the book, so there's no fake fleece. But he is luring the demigods there for their death. That's why he's also God. Grover and Clarice. Why did it take me a hot minute to remember their names? That's why he also got them there. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not sure if he even knows that the reinforcements are on the way. Because Grover doesn't bring up his empathy link, and Clarice is convinced that um, Percy and Annabeth are dead. But again, we don't get to see their perspectives in the conversation they are actually having, so we don't truly know what they're talking about and stuff. So that's again what I like about the show. Yeah, so the plan is a lot different. But yeah, back to the plan. The sheep, there are actually two different kinds of sheep on Polyphemus Island on two different sides. There are like the normal, peaceful, happy, regular sheep, and then there are the cannibalistic, man-eating sheep that live on the side of the island with the fleeces. They are carnivores. They will eat anything. They love meat. And so first thing about they're like, oh crap, how are you gonna do that? So they decided we're gonna get our friends first, fleece later. So they're like, okay, we're gonna get into the cave first. So they scale kind of the mountain thing. Again, also the setup and the positioning of the island is completely different in the book and the show. So in the book they scale like the mountain, and in the show we see the mountain, and the trees at the top. And if you look down, you see the hole where Grover and Clarice were. It's kind of like that, but but the tree with the fleece was on the complete other side of the island versus that mountain. You know, that kind of makes sense. I'll draw us a diagram. I love diagrams, y'all. So this was the island. This was like the man-eating sheep part. This was where the man-eating sheep were. And this was where Polyphemus' hideout was. He had sheep on both sides. So Percy and Annabeth climbed up to where this hole was. They looked in. They saw Polyphemus talking with Clarice and Grover. That's where they overhear Polyphemus say that he's gonna marry Clarice at sunset, and then he leaves the cave. And they're like, okay. And Annabeth is like, okay, lock in, time for a plan. So the plan is Annabeth is gonna go invisible, and Percy is gonna go as a sheep. But he's not gonna wear a sheepskin. No, he's actually gonna climb under a sheep and just hold on for dear life. He's just gonna hold on to the sheep like baby style, like he's a baby koala. Like, and that's how they're gonna get it. And Annabeth is gonna be under the invisibility cloak and her invisibility cap, and Polyphemus is totally not gonna notice her. And so then ensues the fight scene is completely different, and Percy and Annabeth are separated for a lot longer. So Percy ends up, under his sheep. He crawls into the cave, and then he's like, "Oh, I hope Annabeth is in this cave." Tee tee. Annabeth is not in the cave. She's outside the cave, and that's when she starts screaming at Polyphemus. And in the books, she says she goes, "I'm nobody," and then Polyphemus is obviously like, "Oh my gosh, nobody from the Odyssey," thinking he's Odysseus, and he starts like getting real mad, and starts like throwing rocks at her, chasing her, doing crazy stuff. And Percy frees Clarice and Wilbur, and they're like, "We gotta lock in." Um, they don't lock in. They do not lock in. Annabeth gets knocked unconscious. Soleil, love her, huge gash on her forehead, broken ribs, bleeding out. Percy starts freaking out, and then he looks at Grover and Clarice and is like, we gotta lock in, and jump Polyphemus. So they try to jump Polyphemus. Even the three of them together, it doesn't work. Grover does pathetically. So Percy's like, yo, Grover, get Annabeth and get the freak out of here. So Grover grabs Annabeth and hightails her out of there. And so Percy and Clarice are just like fighting off the Cyclops, doing their thing. They're fighting off Polyphemus. Um, doing such a great job of it. And then when they see that Grover has gotten away to the one portion of the island, aka the island where this part of the island where the cannibalistic sheep were. Oh, also the part of the islands are like separated. They have a valley in the middle, and then there's a drawbridge, like a wooden cross bridge between the sides. So Grover grabs Annabeth and takes her to the cannibalistic sheep side. Slay, but that's also where the fleece is, and trying to get rid of the fleece and get away from Polyphemus. And so once like Annabeth is far enough, Clarice and Percy are like, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here, we gotta run. So they bolt it like Usain Bolt, and they cross the drawbridge. And right as they're about to cross, Grover and Percy slashed the thing, but it did not work. Polyphemus, he jumped and he made the jump, and he's about to fight them, and Percy's like, you know what, screw you, man. Starts slashing, stabbing, gets really rageful, knocks Polyphemus down, is about to hurt him, and then Polyphemus is like, no, please don't kill me, my sheep need me, like I'm just a baby. And Percy's like, so is Dyson. So he's like, I'm gonna show you mercy, but only if you give us the fleece. And of course Polyphemus is like, yes, of course, daddy. So Percy shows mercy, and then obviously not a good thing. Polyphemus is like, hi, you loser, slams him down, about to kill him, and then in comes our baddie Tyson, and he like throws a bunch of rocks at Polyphemus and knocks him unconscious. So that's where it's kind of different from the show and the books. Again, more concedes after he knocks Polyphemus unconscious, but now we're gonna get to the differences to how the show we're gonna get into how the show adapts that sequence. So obviously they don't separate Percy and Beth like that. They decide, and they don't go and have Percy physically climb under a sheep, because that would be like really hard to like do and film. Like it would be really hard for Walker to physically do and film that. For both him and the sheep. And so the smarter idea was they're gonna go, they're gonna pretend to be sheep, and they are going to climb up to the tree where the fleece is hidden, and they're just gonna take the fleece, because again, no cannibalistic sheep, y'all. We're the sheep of doom. So there's plan is to get the fleece, and then also to save Clarice and Grover. Mainly Grover, because he doesn't know Clarice is alive yet, I believe. Well, Clarice knows she's alive, but Grover don't know. But Percy doesn't know that Clarice is alive. But he knows that there is a hole in the top of the top of the cave, and that's kind of where the fleece is, and that's the way to get down and into Grover. And he tells Anne about this. And so they're like, okay, we'll go up to the tree, get the fleece, climb down, climb down into the cave, get Grover and Clarice, and then climb back up. Perfect plan, right? Totally. So they put the sheepskin on. They're walking, they're walking, they're walking, they're doing sheep things. And they get to the tree. We also get the inclusion of Luke being on getting to Polyphemus' Island and Iris messaging. Iris messaging Annabeth kind of to check on her, but also to gauge, like, did she get to Polyphemus' Island? You know, what's up? And he sees that she's on the island. And it's like, score. Not score, but still, you know, we're gonna get to the island. And they have a conversation, yada yada, goes back and forth. And it's like, you know, Thalia hated Zeus, but she wouldn't be on your side, and how you're going about things is wrong. Like, we can find like a different path, not Kronos. And Luke is like, I'm crazy. And then Percy's like, were you calling homeboy? Were you calling homeboy? He's not our homeboy no more. And Polyphemus is coming, so we better put that goat skin on and pretend to be goats so we don't get eaten. And Percy's also like, we can't trust Luke, you know that, right? Like, stop calling homeboy. And Allison's a little crazy bitch. My favorite part about this scene where they're like pretending to be sheep is Annabeth going, think sheepy thoughts. Bah. Think holy thoughts. Just be a sheep, go. Think holy thoughts. Bah. Bah. And then they just start like belching like sheep. It's so funny. Percy does some recon. He runs up to the hole after Polyphemus takes him up there. Polyphemus walks away because obviously it's a freaking trap. And they don't realize it. Percy sees the fleece. He looks down. He sees Grover and Clarice, and he's like, "Friends there for fleece. Everything good." Runs back and is like, goes back to him and is like, "Yo, it's two people. We have to save Clarice too. Freak my freaking chungus life." Like, and this is like, you know, it's fine. You know, it'll just take us a little longer. We can get them out of there. Meanwhile, Grover and Clarice are tied up downstairs, and Grover's like trying to warn Percy it's a trap. They're binded and gagged, so you know they can't really communicate. So Clarice like thrashes around with Grover tied to her back, breaks a mirror, and tries to cut their bonds, and pretty much successfully cuts their bonds. But it's kind of too late by the time that happens. So Percy and Annabeth climb up the tree. They get ready to climb down. Annabeth, being kind of smart while waiting for Percy to climb down and up, notices that the fleece is fake and, you know, dripping liquor. So she's like, gotta lock in, twin. Puts on that invisibility cap, and meanwhile, kind of Percy falls into the hole because Polyphemus cuts the rope. Then we finally get to Annabeth Invisible taunting Polyphemus. Now, instead of, you know, pretending to be nobody in the book, there is kind of a plot hole in this that Percy even mentions. Nobody was a guy. I'm pretty sure Polyphemus would be like smart enough to put two and two together. That's not really nobody. It kind of does put two and two together. That's not nobody. And then also it just counted him desperately wanting revenge. Annabeth, again, probably understand that he would want revenge and understand that. But what I like about the show is it makes Annabeth even more intuitive and kind of cynical. Instead of pretending to be nobody and knowing that Polyphemus would want to get revenge and come after her, she taunts him on the fact that you know he let himself be fooled by Odysseus. Let himself, guys, I cut out all this shit. She taunts him over that, and instead of, you know, wanting revenge, he gets angry over his failure, and he gets angry over her calling him out, and angry over what happened. He just starts attacking her. It's like, oh, she's so smart, and oh, I just love the way that Leah like delivers her lines in this scene. It's just so beautiful. Luke, being a loser, teleports onto the island instead of, you know, going through the sea of monsters. Is about to steal the fleece. He sees Annabeth fighting with Polyphemus, so he like runs around, does some recon, you know, being a weirdo. Meanwhile, Grover sniffs out the real fleece that is hidden in the cave. Because obviously, you know, the fake fleece was put in the tree, so Grover finds the real fleece, and it's like, oh my gosh, guys, we have the real fleece! Yay, we can go back to camp now. How the freak do we get out of this cave? Polyphemus can sense that you know, the fleece has been taken, so he starts running back to the cave. You know, you're gonna open the door, get the fleece back, be a champ. Annabeth is like, what are you gonna freak? So she follows after him. And then of course, Lucy's Annabeth running and decides to, you know, take off and kind of go around, follow her, slay, being a weirdo, like his usual behavior. Polyphemus goes to open the door, you know, tries to be all badass, and she's like, the fleece is not yours, it's mine. He opens the door a little bit, and he's about to go in, you know, kill him. Meanwhile, Annabeth invisibly goes in, slashes his ankle towards his Achilles tendon. And, you know, Polyphemus is not having that, so he like slashes her backwards, she hits her head, gets that concussion, you know, goes unconscious, almost dies. Slay. And then, you know, doesn't come in saves the day. Oh, again, another 10 out of 10 beautiful applause for Daniel Diamond's performance. All their performances, 10 out of 10. These actors, they're so good, y'all. Rick, your casting stays elite. Stays elite. Yeah. Um, Tyson goes off, fighting with Polyphemus. Meanwhile, Luke comes in and finds Annabeth unconscious on the floor and is like, "Give me the fleece. I need the fleece to save Annabeth." And then Percy, Deadass looks Clarice in the face and says, "Give me the fleece. We're healing Annabeth. We're healing Annabeth." And Clarice is like, "By giving the fleece to our enemy instead of saving Camp." Percy then loses his shit, steals the fleece from Clarice, and gives it to Luke so that Luke can save Annabeth. And then Luke kidnaps Annabeth. Love and hate that inclusion. Um, Love it because it makes things it's a little less complicated than how it kind of goes all down in the books. Hate it because it just changes everything, and Luke fucking ends up kidnapping Annabeth and through that. But also, again, back to loving it because it truly shows that fatal flaw of Percy's being loyalty. Like he truly would sacrifice the world for Annabeth. He would sacrifice everything for her and like for his friends. Like he's literally willing to let Camp Half Blood die and give the fleece to Luke, the enemy, Kronos, letting him revive Kronos, just so Annabeth can be saved. Like he obviously has you know it's in the moment, so they obviously plan to get the fleece back and Annabeth back, but he is so desperate in that moment that all he can think about is without Annabeth, like what else would I do? Drives deep their connection and his loyalty fatal flaw. Perfection. Oh my god. And the acting that Walker does in this goddamn scene, oh my god, delivered. Seeing Percy like that. And then when he gets out of the cave, he picks up Annabeth's hat and he looks at the camera. Stop. So Luke stole the ship to let Percy Annabeth's ship to, kidnap Annabeth and take her back to his boat. Because he's evil like that. So they're like, how are we gonna get Annabeth? And Tyson's like, I know a friend or two. AKA Rainbow and the Hippocampi. Episode cuts after us seeing the Hippocampi because, again, they just don't want to, they just, again, don't have the money to, you know, film the multiple Hippocampi riding scenes, and then also, again, it might look absolutely dog shit. So, not have a scene, have a dog shit scene, and then the episode ends, which is very different. Okay, hi. So it's later. My mic died in the middle of talking, and I didn't realize because the way I realized the mic is on is this little light thing, and it was facing towards me, and I was not looking at the light. So I didn't realize it died while I was halfway through explaining how it ends in the book. Okay, so now it's later. I have the whole video edited, and I realize, oh damn, the audio cuts out. I gotta refilm the whole thing. But you know what? It's okay. So basically, how it ends in the books is so they're fighting off Polyphemus, and they're like, screw it, we gotta make a run for it for the boats. So he's kind of knocked out. So they're running towards the boats, or towards the Queen Anne's Revenge, the boat that they stole from Cersei's Island, Blackbeard's boat. So they're running towards the boat, and then Polyphemus eventually regains consciousness and starts coming after them. He's like, "Bruh, you can't steal my fleece." Um, so Percy, using his mind powers, brought the purse. His mind Poseidon powers brought the ship over from where it was docked over to where they are. So it's kind of just a little bit out in the sea waiting. And they're just literally running through the water trying to get to the boat. And Polyphemus is about to get to them. And Tyson's like, "Go on, Percy. I'll hold him off. I'll fight him off while you guys get to safety." And Percy's like, "Ain't no way I'm ever leaving you again, bro. We doing this together." So they go to try to tag team Polyphemus. It doesn't really work, but they kind of at one point get the upper hand and shove him away. And by then Clarice and Annabeth and Grover have gotten on the ship, so they're like, okay, it's safe to kind of go, not really, but peace out. So they run back into the ocean. They start running out, and eventually are swimming, using the water currents to guide themselves. And Polyphemus is mad as freak. He's so angry. So he starts throwing boulders at them. And then again, Percy using his water powers to swerve them around and duck them underwater. Um, avoid all the rocks. And Clarice it starts laughing at Polyphemus. She's like, "Ha, you're missing. Boo-hoo, tee-hee, F you." And Percy's like, "Oh my god, Clarice, shut up, shut up." And so Polyphemus starts throwing rocks at Clarice now. Um, and it breaks the ship, and the ship starts sinking, which is why this chapter specifically, this end chapter where they're running away is called "I Go Down with the Ship," so it's kind of confusing to why they call it "I Go Down with the Ship" the episode in episode 7, because no one really goes down with the ship, but whatever. You know what? Whatever continuity wants to do. Okay, whatever makes sense for an episode title for you. But yeah, so the ship is sinking, everyone's sinking and drowning. Percy and Tyson are trying to swim down there fast enough, but when the ship is sinking, it's like a vacuum hole. It's like literally like a black hole. Like everything's just getting sucked down at once. And they can't get to them fast enough. And Tyson's like, "Don't worry, bro. I got this." Calls on Rainbow and all his friends. They save everybody. Take them to the surface. And they're just like riding on the hippocampi all the way to the shores of Miami Beach, which is as far as the hippocampi will take them. They're like, "Thanks, thanks, water horses." Um, and then they, get off onto Miami Beach, which is then how they later ensue, like they later on find um Luke's ship and yada yada yada. Um, cohesive. But that's for the fourth and final part. So yeah, those are the differences from the books to the TV shows for episodes for episodes 5 and 6. Um, almost at episode 6, 7 because I'm almost too brain rotted. Um, yeah, so that was it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk almost way too much about something I'm way too interested in. Um, and yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, maybe give it a like and maybe check out some of my other videos because I talk about not only Percy Jackson but all sorts of other book series and also do art videos. So look up for that. Um, yeah, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. And I promise it will not be as long as I wait for part 4 for the finale of this.